Thank you, everyone, for being with us. You're very brave to be here so early in the morning. So we're going to be covering a lot of topics around industrial cybersecurity. So we'll get started with the session organized by Rexel. We have Alice Conan, Head of Industry for Rexel, and Frédéric Blanc, who is in charge of industrial cybersecurity. So welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So I am Alice Conan, and I'm with Frédéric Blanc. So we're from Rexel, France. Just briefly, we have 5,000 staff organized for three markets, housing, industry, and hospitals. We provide solutions for industrial processes, for buildings, climate control, electrification. So Frédéric and I work for the industrial division, and we support our clients to be more competitive. So our job is to help them to produce as efficiently as possible, the best product possible, and at an optimized price. And to do this, of course, clients are paying attention to costs, and so we're going to support them for various solutions, particularly to do with the building shell, energy savings, but also the plant and all of the production systems, and these must be modern, connected, reliable production systems. And so we have our specialists working with our clients. Some of them are world leaders, particularly in automated systems. And in the past 5 years, we have put together a specialized team for cybersecurity. And Frédéric will be talking to you about this because, in fact, it's very easy to access industrial networks and attack these systems. So Frédéric will tell you a bit more about that. Thank you, Alice. Of those of you in the audience, have you recently programmed a PLC, a speed controller, or a SCADA software? Just raise your hand if you've done that. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so what is the tool overall? Okay, we talk about operational technologies a lot. This is speed controllers, SCADAs, PLCs, any other machine management software that you'll find it all over the plant. And this includes the building management. You'll find the production and management of electricity, water treatment, wastewater, etc. All of this will be controlled by these machines. So if we look at some of the threats for 2023, the hardest hit businesses of ransomware are the ones that use a lot of automation. So small and medium-sized businesses and industries, as well as local authorities and businesses considered strategic. So you can see that the impact can be huge. And when we talk about ransomware, well, this can also impact production in these companies because if you've got a controlling software that has been attacked, well, then you simply cannot run your machines. Another important point, well, there are other types of attacks for other types of systems. So this is an example of a water treatment plant in Ireland because the firewall, in fact, for that system was very basic. The passwords had been left in their default passwords. And then we, in fact, see this quite frequently when we go for the first time to new clients. A little bit of background now. In the 1980s, well, that was 40 years ago. When you're my age, you think it wasn't so long ago. But, looking back to the 1980s, there were proprietary protocols which have become have become standards, in fact, over time. And so you'll see this type of network setup. You'll still see sensors, PLCs, and the complete system all the way up to the cloud, monitoring a power supply for controlling the systems remotely to optimize production. But in fact, most systems do not go this far. In fact, if we do a mapping of their network, in fact, it can be a very flat system. There might not be any segmentation, separation of the systems. So this is a problem. Another important point. When we're talking about industrial plant and equipment, you're thinking of, some basic automation. But in fact, man-machine interface, MMIs, you've got Windows integrated. You've got directly, the frontal USB sticks. Okay, that's fine for adding some updates, but it can be problematic. Then you've got Ethernet ports, you've got open unsecured communication systems. You have no hardening of the networks, because everybody wants the system to be running all the time. So the installers were paid for it to run all the time, but in fact, that can be a problem. What about the speed controllers? And you've also got embedded web servers. There are various other types of connections. All of this has a purpose, is to make it easily accessible. But this access exposes the system to risk. So let me give you this example. Here you've got a PLC. I'm not telling you the brand, but it is rather standard. So you've got the PLC, which in fact it looks like a switch to begin with. Well, and you don't see the input output, and so because in fact they are remote. You don't need everything local in the switch. So on the right you've got the fiber ports. You don't have to have everything in the PLC itself. But so you've got your USB, Ethernet, then you can also insert a SIM card for easy updates. Okay, so a lot of things that you would find on a computer. So an operating system, RAM, access, and so the idea behind this piece of equipment is just for everything to run. But like a computer, it needs to be hardened or locked in many ways to have passwords to control the access in a very precise manner. And so what this is some of the weak points in many systems. So here, perhaps you've seen this before, but it's very interesting because, we look at these different types of cyber attacks that are attacking computers or IT systems, but in fact, some of them will have an impact on your industrial equipment. Phishing can do that, ransomware as well. You can shut down the monitoring system, the denial of service as well. All PLCs now, some of them are 15, 20 years old. Some of those machines, they're not meant to be replaced frequently. And, even in the energy industry, there's some very there's a lot of legacy equipment out there. Man in the middle. I like to give the example of the Modbus protocol. It has existed since 1979. In fact, it used to be a serial protocol that is now adapted to TCP. And so the specifications for this are in open access since 2006. So it's not a complicated protocol. So putting a man in the middle on Modbus is really simple, in fact. And then also as well. SQL injection is also quite easily attackable. Zero-day exploits, zero-day just means that it's the first time anyone's seen it. So as anyone here in the audience, have you ever tried to update your PLC because you detected an attack? Okay, one person, two. All right, two people. So that's important to note. Industry has a lot of work ahead of it to address these weaknesses, be it Windows in the background or not. So all of these things need to be updated and managed. So you can see that 6 out of these 8 types of cyber attacks can concern industry. Okay, so what about our operational technologies? When you're in an industrial sector, it's all about availability of the machines, sometimes working around the clock with a clean network that is under continual monitoring. And this is something that we see. There's a lack of monitoring, and then sometimes you don't understand why everything has crashed. So they're looking, and you have to be looking at the security. Okay, so you need to do a mapping. So this is an entire inventory of the system, and at that point you can also think about security. And now what about the remote interventions? A lot of maintenance work is done remotely. So what we're doing now, we work on the framework NIST. So it's all about identifying, first of all, what's on this network, because the industrial systems have been put together little by little. There's a new machine added on to an existing system, and then they're interconnected one way or another. And last year, for example, we heard that, when something is working, well, you want it to keep working, and you just keep adding on. So the first thing to do is a mapping of the whole system to identify any weaknesses. The rest of that is a pretty standard approach. Then protecting passwords, access control, detecting suspicious activity, putting in place a crisis plan. Okay, you have a crisis plan when a machine breaks down, right? So you need one for cybersecurity as well, and then you need to have a restoration plan. So overall, what's important in this approach is to know that, industry, of course, needs all of this IT for all of its operations, but the tool has to, yes, produce, but it has to protect people and critical installations. It all has to fit together. And so your action plans have to provide a broad-ranging security. So it's not just IT is here, the firewall's there, and the rest of it will work. Well, there's still a lot of people thinking along those terms. So you have to take a much more comprehensive approach to the solution. If you're updating the firmware, for example, you have to coordinate with the industrial side to do that properly. So there you have it. Thank you very much. I know it's the beginning of the day, but do come and see us at our stand. We're at E114 at the CFI Village, and we look forward to seeing you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. A very good overview of the current situation.